A prologue to the Canterbury Tales. Modern text, the Canterbury Tales starts here. People want to go on religious pilgrimages to spiritual places in the springtime, when the April rains have soaked deep into the dry ground to water the flowers, roots, and when Zephyrus, the god of the west wind, has helped new flowers to grow over everywhere. And when, as you can see, the constellation areas in the sky, and when the birds sing all the time, some people go to other countries, but many people in England choose to go to the city of Canterbury in southeastern England to visit the remains remains of Thomas Becket, and the Christian martyr who had the power of healing people. One spring, when I was making my own, this is Joseph saying this. One spring, when I was making my own humble pilgrimage to Canterbury, I stayed at the Tabard Inn in the city of Southwark. While I was there, a group of 29 people who were also making the same pilgrimage arrived at the hotel. None of them had really known each other before, but they had met along the way. It was a pretty diverse group of people from different walks of life. The hotel was spacious and had plenty of rooms for all of us. I started talking with these people, and pretty soon fit right into their group. We made plans to get up early and continue on the journey to Canterbury Tales. Moving to page 2. But before I begin my story, I should probably tell you all about the 29 people in this group, who they were, what they did for a living, and what they were all wearing. I'll start by telling you about the knight. There was an honorable knight who had devoted his life to chivalry, truth, and justice. He had fought for his king in many wars throughout Europe and the Middle East, and had won many awards for his bravery. The knight had been there and done it all. He had helped to conquer the city of Alexandria in Egypt in 1365, and had dined with royalty in Prussia on many occasions. He had fought in Lithuania and Russia more times and, than any other Christian knight. He had been at the siege of Algeria, Algeciras in Grenada, Spain, and had conquered enemies in North Africa and Eastern Europe. He had been all over the Mediterranean Sea. He had been in 15 battles, three of them against the Hassans of Algeria, and he had never lost once. This knight had even fought with the pagan king of Istanbul in Turkey against another non-Christian, despite his huge success and his noble lineage. He was best practical, self-disciplined, and humble. Never had he said anything bad about another person. He truly was the most perfect knight in every way possible. Now, to tell you about his clothes, he rode fine quality horses, but he didn't wear flashy clothes. He wore a simple cotton shirt and that had stains all over it from the chain mail he had worn in the war he'd won just before starting out on the pilgrimage to Canterbury. The knight's son was also with us, a young squire boy who was his father's assistant. He was a gentle, happy boy who was well on his way to becoming a knight himself. He was about 20 years old, of average height, and had very curly hair. He was also very strong and physically fit. He had served in the army in some parts of Holland and France and had won honors for there too, which he hoped would impress the girl he loved. In fact, the he was the he was so badly in love with this girl that he couldn't even sleep at night. He wore a very colorful long shirt that um, had wide sleeves, and it took like it looked like a field full of red and white flowers. He could tell he was young and carefree because he sang. You could tell he was young and carefree because he sang and played at the flute all day. He'd he'd write poetry and songs, draw, dance, and joust. All in all, he was a nice young man, humble, polite, and always willing to help out his dad. A yeoman or servant accompanied the knight and his son, and since he was the only servant with them, he got to ride one of his master's horses. His servant wore a green hooded jacket and carried a bow and a bundle of arrows made with bright peacock feathers. The quality of the peacock feathers alone told you that he was a pretty meticulous guy who always paid attention to the little details. He was also an excellent woodworker. He had tanned skin, short hair, and wore a shirt guard and a wrist guard, and a sharp, shiny dagger. He also wore a silver Saint Christopher's what is this? A medal around his neck and a hunting horn with a green strap over his shoulder. He also carried a sword and a shield. I guess he was a forester who spent a lot of time in the woods. Forester is a person who spends most of his time in forest. There was also a prioress, a nun named Madame Eglantine, who ran a convent. She had a sweet and a modest smile and was very friendly and easy to get along with. She sang hymns kind of through her nose, which actually sounded pretty good. She spoke French fluently, and though still with an English accent, she prided herself on the proper manners and etiquette. For example, she always served herself small portions and took small bites of food so that none would fall out of her mouth or get her fingers too messy. And before taking a drink, she would dab her lip with a napkin, so that the food didn't get all over her cup. And she went to great lengths to appear well-mannered and worthy of being a prioress. She was one of those people who felt so strongly for others, and she would burst into tears if she saw a mouse caught in a trap. In fact, the only time she'd swear would be to say by Saint Floyd. She had a few small dogs with her and would feed them only the finest food, roasted meat, milk, fine bread, and she'd cry if one of those dogs died or was abused by someone else. She really did wear her heart on the sleeve, and she had a fine nose, bright eyes, a small red mouth, and a broad forehead. In fact, her forehead was almost as wide as the span of my hand, since she was a good-sized woman. She wore a pretty cloak and a well-pressed cloth around her neck. Around her arm, she wore a rosary made of coral and green beads. And on this string of beads hung a golden brooch with the letter A and the uh, inscription Amor vincit omnia, love conquers all. She was accompanied by three priests and another nun who was her assistant. There was also a monk, a splendid chap, who inspected his monastery's lands. He was a man's man. He was a man's man who loved to hunt and who might one day become the head of his monastery. He kept many elegant horses, and when he rode them, you could hear the bridle bells jingle as clearly as the bells of his monastery. He liked all things modern and new, and didn't care for all things, especially Saint Benedict's rule that monks should live simply and devote themselves to prayer and work. He didn't give a damn for the notion that his monks can't be hunters or anything but churchmen. I myself agreed with him. Why should he drive himself crazy reading books and working inside all the time? Um, how is that going to accomplish anything useful? To hell with the Saint Augustine's stupid rules. Instead, the monk was a horseman and he kept fast greyhounds. He loved to go hunting, and his favorite uh, catch was a fine fat swan. He spared no expense pursuing this hobby. Uh, it was it was therefore no surprise to see that the finest fur lined the cuffs of his sleeves off, and that he used a fancy golden pin to fasten his hood. In fact, it appeared to be a love knot, a symbol of enduring love. He had a shiny, bald head, and his face seemed to glisten. His eyes rolled about in his eyes and seemed to burn like fire. His brown horse was well groomed, his boots were well worn, and his skin looked healthy, not pale like a wolf's. Indeed, he was a fine looking churchman. And this is part one that I have completed on this prologue to the Canterbury Tales. Soon after this, I will make another video to continue from next page, we see page 6 to 10, and to make another part of this, maybe part two. It may continue up to 4 to 5 parts. Okay, thank you for watching. Have a nice time and goodbye. And before leaving your page, this is humble request and kindly, um, what I should say, um, click the like and press the like and bell button to get the press from it. Thank you for watching. Have a nice time. Take care. Allah Hafiz.